Hi, good afternoon, everybody. It's really great to see everybody here today. I think we have a packed house today. I think we still have people who are coming in to the session. I'm Shalini from the Malaysian Insurance Institute, and it's really great to have everyone here today for this very important topic. And I hope everybody's ready to take in what we have Sharala here today. And I think we're just going to go through a few things right now in terms of what we have for today. So I think today, I think we're very lucky to have a wide range of participants attending this webinar today. I think we have people from Malaysia as well as across the region, and welcome. It's really great to see everybody here. Now, this webinar is actually the first, it's the first that we're doing with CADS, with the Center of Applied Data Science, Sharala and her team. But it's actually, I think this is the 13th session. So we've had 12 before, where we've also collaborated with other partners. We've had 12 different sessions before on a range of topics. The session started, I think on the 6th of April. On 6th of April, I think the first session was on leadership and how we leverage on emotional intelligence and for mental well-being, and from there we proceeded. So this is the 13th session. It's really great to have everybody here. I think we will post the link of the where you can find these sessions. Some of the sessions have been recorded, and you can access these sessions on our microsite, on our website. And I think we have another 17 more sessions coming up. So, do sign up, for the topics that are relevant to you, that you think is very interesting. So you will see the link on our chat right now. It's there. Just click on the link, register. I believe most of them are complimentary. One or two of them are not, because it depends on how they have been structured. But that's what we're trying to figure out. How do we still bring content? How do we still keep the learning? I think that's why this is called Learning Never Stops series. So we wanted to make sure that that we can continue to engage and continue to feed your mind. I think that's what MII wants to promote, and that's what we want to make sure that we do. So I think that's what we want to just make sure that we bring you as much content as possible. So I think that's where we are. So today, let's begin with our session today. I think we are very excited to have Miss Sharala Axryd, who is the founder and CEO of the Center of Applied Data Science, or commonly known as CADS. It's great working with the CADS, Sharala and her team. I think they're a fantastic group. And, we're very excited about this new phase of working with them. There's so much that we can leverage on as we look at how do we help the industry? How do we help insurance professionals, to go the next mile, to thrive in this new age that we're in. I think Sharala always talks about how she's a data evangelist, or I would say anything, modernization evangelist or whatever. How do we get companies to innovate? How do we build data-driven organizations? And this is the start to that. So I think today's topic is very timely. It's very relevant. It talks about how do you bridge that human and digital divide. I think that's such a very relevant topic. And this, Sharala leads, this is the first of the 5-part series that we're doing with CADS. I think you saw on your screens, you will see the 4 other topics that are also coming up. I think there's one coming up this Friday. Do go out and check out our, so yeah, all these. So you can scan the QR code or to register, or just go on to our microsite. The link is on the chat. And and do register. There's a lot of topics, a lot of I think a lot of it have been customized for insurance as well. I think the last one, they even talk about specific examples of how insurance players are leveraging on AI, on analytics, to transform themselves. So I think that's where we are today. So to those who just joined us, welcome once again to this very important webinar series that we're hosting. the title of the series, in case you're here accidentally. It's Bridge the Human Digital Divide. It's a very important topic. I think we very often we get people keep asking us, so when you have technology, does that mean you don't need people? I think Sharala will talk to death about this. I think Sharala could go on and on about this and about how there's just so much that the way in which we work will change, but it doesn't mean that people don't have jobs. I think Sharala will be covering this at length, and I think I think what's most important is for us to be open to adapt, and and it's an exciting time, and I think as we now we get ready to go back to work, we know that I think work and life is not going to be the same when we go back. So I think more than ever, I think that ability to be agile, the ability to adapt becomes so important and so relevant. So that's why, so again, coming back to this series, this session today. So MII is partnering with CADS, we're partnering with CADS, in terms of how do we bring programs and skills in analytics, in data science and AI, and to power the insurance industry and to power insurance professionals to thrive and sustain in the future. I think that's where, CADS has a range of programs, and all these programs are available for you to sign up to MII, so again, do contact us about it after the session if you're interested, or how you want to upskill your people. I think this is such a relevant topic. So again, on today's topic specifically, I think is especially relevant right now. Again, we talk about the disruption that we're going through, and we talk about how technology has transformed the way we work, and COVID-19 has accelerated that transformation. So how the way in which we approach it, the way in which we want to get back to work or move forward. I think that I think all leaders, I think, have had to just step back and really think, and MII as well. I think today we launched our virtual Asian examinations because we realized that the old way of doing it in the classroom doesn't work. It doesn't work right now with this MCO, and it's something that we definitely need to look at. And every part of our business, our call center is running virtually, our customer service is running virtually, our entire team is running virtually, and that's a big change. But but how do we prepare for it, to really move ahead of the curve? And so Sharala is going to talk through us about it, and we will have Q&A. I think we have some important announcement for participants just to take you through. I think because this is a webinar again, so your microphones and your videos have been muted. I'm sorry, it's part of the webinar. So you can use the chat function if you want to provide any comments or feedback. And the session is being recorded. It'll be loaded onto our microsite after 2 days. And you can click on the Q&A button to submit any questions that you have, and we will try our best to answer these questions. And if you submit your questions with your names and we don't get to it, we will get the answers to you and email it to you. And if you submit it anonymously, please drop us an email with your question, and we will again try our real best to get the answers to you. So again, I think to make sure that you have a smooth session, don't close any heavy programs. And again, we have a feedback form to hear from you as to, how the session went. Are there any other topics that you want us to consider? So do check out the link that will be posted in the chat, on how you can access that form. So I'm just going to hand over to Sharala. So Sharala, are you there?
I am here.
Okay, so we have Sharala. I just want to introduce Sharala. I think Sharala is the CEO and founder, and I think if you look at it, I think Sharala has a very illustrious profile. She's done the first of everything. Sharala, I think you were going for some Guinness Book records or whatever, and so I think she brought the data incubator, the Harvard Business School. I think there's one that we're partnering with right now, the Harvard Business School program for for financial services. And I think, but that's happening tomorrow. So I think the registration do talk to us if you're interested, but it has to be today. But again, I think there's a lot that Sharala has done, and I think women, Sharala, correct me if I'm wrong, women in this space that you are in is a rare breed. So I think that's something that we need to see more of. And women in science, in women in data science. I think this is something that's very important. So I'm just going to hand over to Sharala, and you can take it from there. Sharala?
Thank you so much, Shalini. So I think I'm trying to see whether I can move the screen. And okay, so we're there. Thank you. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. That was a very, you know, I'm gonna start the video too, so just in case people get a chance to see me. Welcome, and this is a very, I think the topic for today is very close to my heart. And just to give you a little bit of history about CADS and me as a founder, and then our relationship with MII. We started CADS with an idea somewhere in 2013, 2014. If you look at my name, you know, it's Sharala Axryd. Axryd is my Swedish surname. I'm married to a Swede. The reason I'm sharing this is when I came back to Malaysia about 8-9 years ago, you know, Shalini mentioned about, you know, wanting to be the first of everything. Actually, it was, the intention was to become a game changer. You know, if you're from Malaysia, you know, and if you're from ASEAN, Malaysia has the highest brain drain in the ASEAN region. And there's a reason for this, that the skills that's required, you know, people leave the country because they could do more abroad. So when I came back, and I would like to claim that maybe I am one of the brain drains, that I wanted to do something that would not only stop the likes of me leaving the country, but also bring back people like me, and the jobs in the country would stay relevant. That was the reason why we looked out to technology that could make a change in the way businesses run, the way the country would run, you know, and people themselves. And this, when we talk about it in 2013, 2014, this is so new that a lot of companies around this region did not see the urgency for this, yeah? And I'm going to play a video just after this introduction. And those who have been reading the news know that, you know, not only we have overloaded the internet, there's a cable issue going to Hong Kong. So we're going to try the video. And if at all it lags, so it doesn't play, I'll continue with the presentation. So if it does lag in the chat, please put your hands up or please comment, so then we can stop that and move on to the presentation. Now, that's about CADS. And our relationship with MII, Shalini especially, and I love the topic like learning never stops. And why this, you know, you guys have already thought about it to begin off with, and why today bridging the human and digital divide is so important. It's very relevant to what we say, you know, learning never stops. And Shalini is right, I can talk to death about this. But having said that, I would like to show you guys a video first, and then I'll continue with the presentation. So with that, let's see. The video will play.
Once upon a time, business as usual was often good enough. No more. Where we are going, good enough is dead. In a world where everything is connected, where everything is equally excellent, where performance is reaching perfection, there's only one space left to innovate in: you. Right now, you are a central point in the raging tornado of change fueled by digitization, mobilization, augmentation, disintermediation, automation. Well, the list goes on. Science fiction is becoming science fact. Think about self-driving cars or computers that can learn and think. The way we work will never be the same. The skills we need will be dramatically different. Winning or losing are now happening faster than ever before. So what's your response? How will you discover new opportunities in one of the most transformational times in human history? Are you driving change, or are you being driven by it? Disruption has become the new normal. With change, it's always gradually, then suddenly, well, things really have stopped happening gradually. This change is exponential. Everything that used to be dumb and disconnected is now wired and intelligent. Cars, cities, ports, farms, even our bodies will be wired with sensors and will talk to each other. These game changers are also combinatorial. They amplify each other, creating a perfect storm of change. Quantum computing fuels big data. The Internet of Things fuels artificial intelligence and deep learning, which fuels robotics. However, anything that cannot be digitized or automated will become extremely valuable. Human-only traits such as creativity, imagination, intuition, emotion, and ethics will be even more important in the future, because machines are very good at simulating, but not at being. Yes, robots and software will do some of our work, but this will allow us to focus on things that cannot be automated. To imagine change squared, you've got to start engaging more with what might be, not just with what is. Immerse yourself in the immediate future, 5 to 7 years out from today. We need to go beyond technology and data to reach human insights and wisdom. Technology represents the how of change, but humans represent the why. The future is about holistic business model. The opportunity is to be liquid, to learn just in time, not just in case, not single improvements, but complete transformations, not individual systems, but new ecosystems. Humanity is where true and lasting value is created. We will engage, relate, and buy things because of the experiences they provide, because of their transformative power. The future doesn't just happen, the future gets happened. The new way to work is to embrace technology, but not to become it. The future is in technology, yet the bigger future lies in transcending it. Let's live and lead from here.
So, that I found that video is so relevant that this video was taken somewhere in 2016, where they were talking about exactly what the slide shows you now. Digital transformation is years away. They were talking about in 5, 6, 7 years time to come, and a lot of people did not see the urgency. And there's a funny image that was circulating around FB and LinkedIn for the last few weeks, asking who led the digital transformation of your company. A, your CEO, B, CTO, C, COVID-19. And the COVID-19 was circled, yeah? And I think it's so, sometimes it takes a crisis to turn people's mindsets around. And the new norm is what this is going to be. I am learning how to use the Zoom, how to present without being able to see people's expression. And this is all very new to me, but this is what's going to be the new norm to get the information out there. So having said that, right? So people have seen, the initial stage when this happened, a lot of people were in shock and were trying to understand how they can bring the business around. And, a month has passed by and people now realize, like, I now need to do something about it, and what else can I do? The topic for today is it encompasses the whole reason behind, or the first step that you need to take in order for you to become data-driven, or we call it the digital transformation. And I'm going to show that in your next slide. What does it mean to become a digital organization? So today's business, transforming and moving into digital business, you can hear banks saying that we are not banks anymore, we are a tech company. We have airlines saying we are not airlines anymore, more so now, but we are a tech company. So what does that require you to go from a today's business to a digital business? And that's why we call it a digital transformation. Now, a digital transformation is not possible if your company, your organization doesn't become a data-driven organization. Now, a lot of people think that a data-driven word is such a buzz, and how does it relate to what we're doing? Because I am spending millions in getting my architecture done and putting people, buying cloud-based and all that. That is just one part of a digital transformation. And that is why it's really important that, we talk about to become a digital company, a digital business, an organization. An organization needs to become a data-driven organization, yeah? So having said that, then what does it require to, hang on, oops, technical glitch, hang on a second. So what does it take to become a data-driven organization? You need to have data and you need to have analytics. So not just collecting the data is good enough, you've got to have analytics on that. And what does that mean? You have data, you have analytics. A lot of companies have a BI team. They have a data science, department doing it. It is not possible to have all of these working if you don't have a strategy in place, technology implemented, and very important, everybody is educated and become data literacy. So we talk about this over and over again. The reason behind is you're trying to get an elephant to dance and you need to get every part of the elephant moving. So that is why becoming a data-driven organization doesn't mean just buying an infra or setting up a data science team and then there you go, you can start running it. And that's not possible anymore. People have started it 5 years ago, that's great, but now you want the whole organization to speak the same language, yeah? So how can you do that? How can you, like we said, how do you get the whole company to have the data literacy? And why that is important? It's not something that, we make it up. The numbers clearly shows, right? The biggest talent that we need out there is AI, no doubt about that. But there are other talents that's very seriously required for us to do this transformation is data, analytics, AI. And this is so key for us to look at it and understand what this means. Companies are at huge risk, and this is not a joke. Even so, now with the post-COVID or during this COVID-19, that if they do not invest in the workforce, and we constantly get this feedback from certain companies that I'm trying to save the business and you are trying to get me to invest in my workforce. Now, that is why the strategy is so important, what you invest in now and what is going to bring you out from this in the long term. So analysts say that, this is the biggest, IMF saying this is going to be even worse than the Great Depression. Some people say the economy will recover mid of 2021. Whatever it may be, it's important to organizations to start thinking what they need to invest in, and the workforce becomes the number one. Our government is looking seriously in investing in workforces. Singapore is putting in a lot of money looking at how they could invest in their workforce. Now, all this is not possible if the leaders don't have a mindset and a behavior shift. So in the past, a lot of us didn't even know how to use laptops in certain ways that we can communicate. Even my team would prefer us to come into office to have a brainstorming session. But now we use Zoom and Teams, and we have changed our mindsets. But we're forced to change. And it's important that CEOs need to be very mindful on this and have to start having more transparency on what they're doing and what AI and analytics can give. And I think when I use the word transparency, it's a very crucial word to use, because you cannot make decisions if you don't have the information in hand. This is like piloting a plane and not having the radar on. And a lot of companies now see that the urgency of what this pandemic has done, not understanding where the market will be going. All these, if you have AI and analytics and big data in the company, could help you have real-time information how you can move and maneuver your business accordingly. Okay, so 42% of executives say intelligent technologies will be behind every new innovation. Now, some of the strategies that companies have looked at is they wanted to have the CSO or the CEO to have the strategy in place. But one of the greatest gift you could do is if you upskill your own workforce, they can come out with innovation that you wouldn't be able to think of just as a person in a company. Yeah. So you can create a collaborative environment where ideas and innovation would just come in. I've changed the slides and how to work in insurance better today. Now, a lot of you who are here come from big, insurance sectors that have already implemented some real smart ways to look at, faster claims of insurance. You've looked at, if there's risk in some people, fraud is a big thing in insurance. I get that. But I also want to talk about other parts of the insurance world that's being disrupted, right? We're talking about health insurance. There's a platform, that actually allows you to go and choose. As a consumer, I can go in and put my needs for my company or my family, and it will give me the best insurance company to go to. So when you have those kind of platform out there, digital innovation analytics that help give a better customer experience. Now your business is in track. Not only you are trying here to work on all the fraud claims, then you are losing your business to your competition, because there's this third party who decided that I can use AI analytics and digitization to give recommendation to people. Auto insurance, I think it's really interesting that we had in CADS, we actually had a request from one of the renowned German companies where they have a black box in the car, and they wanted us to look at driving behavior of a individual so they can actually adjust the insurance for the individual. So personalizing, individual needs in insurance has become really important, and you cannot do it just by having an underwriter trying to get all the questions answered so they can give you. The consumer world is not going to wait and condone to this, and they will move on faster and quicker. And then the new generation who doesn't believe in the banking system, who doesn't believe in anything that's an organized organization, they would want something they could trust on the net and make a decision quickly and just pay with their parents' credit card. I would say that. But that's how the future of the workforce is going to be. And legacy industries cannot keep saying that we have done this for so many years and we'll continue doing this for so many years. And this is why I think bridging the skill gap has become so important, that, we work very closely with Gartner, and then they say that 70% that haven't mastered their skills will, haven't mastered for what we need today. I mean, forget about the post-COVID situation, right? It just today has become a big situation that they have to look at. So then we talk about, if you can and look at this, like in an era that you do not want to let go of people, and in a situation where you are not in a luxury to hire new people, how do you manage this situation? So I always say that, all the companies out there are looking for this data scientists, data, analysts, the unicorn is a mythical animal, so it doesn't exist, to come in and solve their crucial problem. And I kind of sometimes say it like, the world hunger. You're trying to solve the world hunger. But you forget that your domain expert comes from within. Data scientists from outside, where everybody is fighting for, will bring in the skills, but the domain experts is very much within your own employees. And starting to unleash this becomes one of the most interesting strategy. If a companies have started applying that, you are ahead of the curve of staying relevant post this pandemic. Yeah. So half-life of skills is shrinking. I talk about these slides. If you look at these slides, and I talk about it like, we are in the industry 4.0, and I talk about this as industry 2.0 and industry 3.0. whatever that you and I, whoever is born in the 1970s, I would like to declare my age here, I was born in that. We had a generation of education that's already prepped us to do the job right up to Industry 3.0. Okay, now we are in a realm, in a very early stage of Industry 4.0, which is being disruptive. This is like how, you know, when first the internet started 10, 12 years ago, that our children's education is being questioned whether it's relevant. Your job and my job, then we have to learn to not reinvent, to relook and reskill ourselves to stay relevant. And the businesses that we are in, the company we are working for, is looking and struggling to stay relevant. So now we have a lifetime of what we have learned suddenly doesn't make sense anymore. So with that, right, you know, the future, if you look at, I put some skills that we have that was recent 2018, trending 2022, and declining. And what really worries me is what will be declining is reading, writing, maths, and activity for listening. Now, that is really disturbing, because this is what we work with our kids. This is how I was trained up when I was young. My dad is so particular about my writing and my spelling. And when you type all the time and you have auto correct in your laptop, does this really matter anymore? And what is trending now? Look at that. Great leadership ability, complex problem solving, critical thinking. Can you see anything here that requires memorizing or something? I always say this, right? If you can memorize it, and if it's a repetitive, a machine can do better, faster, quicker, much more accurate than you can. And that's what we would want. And that is why I think there's a lot of this, what you call mythical, you know, concept about what AI will do. AI will take away jobs, and I'll talk about it a little bit further down the slides. But the reason that I'm talking about is it's really important, even for ourselves, to look at this, but it's also for the younger generation to understand what the future holds for them. Yeah. And what I like about the next slide is, well, like is a big word. The future of workforce is not going to be role-based anymore. It's all going to be skill-based. So whether you have the right skill to get the job done. So you could be a HR, HCRO, head of human capital in your company. That's role-based. But if you don't have an IT leadership or a data literacy in your organization, you cannot enable analytics in human capital within your department. So it's going to be skill-based, and it's not going to be role-based. And if you look at this slide, what bothers me is the redundant roles. Lawyers could potentially be out of a job. You know, statistical, finance, clerks will be out of a job. Of course, we talk about board all the time. You know, anything that you could memorize, and it will take huge amount of, you know, people's time will eventually become automated or become redundant down the road. But if you look at new roles that we look at, training and development specialists, you know, people and culture specialists. In the past, when people talked about this, we tend to think about it like a, you know, there they go again, this is going to be a team building. Oh, this is going to be a holiday in Bali where people try to do kumbaya. No more, because people and culture specialists become even more important now, because remote working, mental health, to be able to cope being on front of the PC all the time, all this requires culture and engagement. So everything that, you know, people have been saying this, and World Economic Forum has been saying this since 2018, took us today, post-COVID-19, the new norm, to understand, oh my God, this makes a lot of sense why we need to start doing it. Yeah. So, so what can you do? I specifically call these, you know, if you have any strategy that you want to put in place, the single most important strategy that you need to look at is what we call it as an augmented strategy. Now, companies will highlight 3 future strategies. It means you need to upskill your own internal workforce. And World Economic Forum has identified that 54% of your existing employees should be upskill. For reasons being very simple, right? You would think that investment now is too expensive, but what that you're going to get after that is going to be, like you will get 3 to 6 times much more, return in investment by doing that. Now, 30% of the job will be automated. Now, when I talk about it, I always get this feedback. People go, oh my God, automation, that means 30% of my workforce will be replaced. The point is not that. The point is that 30% of the job that you do now, the mundane, the manual, the things that, that can be automated using RPA process, using AI, that you can at last leave home at 4 o'clock or take up an upskilling course where you don't have to sit down and just wait to do an entry. That is what we're looking at, efficient way of working, and 30% of automation seems really crucial. That means whatever we have learned in Industry 3.0, that we think the longer we stay in the office, the longer we work, that means the more productive we are. And it's not an option now for Industry 4.0. Now, the new hires, and they've kind of put 16% on new hires, right? And you only hire the ones that you could bring in skills that your company doesn't have anymore. Now, that is why this augmented strategy becomes so crucial in all the companies, because how do I keep the workforce? Who do I keep? And who do I hire? And what do I automate? Unless you have a big overall view to this, it will be very difficult. And, we've been in the upskilling business for donkey years now. And always I get from the human capital head is people go for training and they come back and I don't know whether they've learned anything. Now, that just doesn't depend on the companies like us, but it has to be a strategy as a whole, not only from the human capital head, HCRO, but also from the chief strategy officer and the CEO. This is not possible to implement in any companies if it's not driven by the C-level. And I cannot stress this more than anything. It's so important to have the buy-in, and it's driven top down. So this is what we call it, the 100% workforce augmented strategy, that if you have to put in, and this is really important to look at. Now, how can HCROs can prepare for the future of work? I would actually, if I have a chance to edit this slide, I would change it and say how the C-levels can prepare the future of work. So it's not the human capital head themselves that's who have to drive these, because what happens is in Industry 3.0, Industry 2.0 as I call it, human capital is totally irrelevant in a company. I mean, they are there to hire, they are there to do the IR policy, they are there to fire, and that's what the role of nearly all human capital head played before. But now they are so important that they have to be part of the strategy team in a company to start preparing on the future workforce. So there are 3 parts we can look at, right? Aim at mapping out the transformation currently underway. So what is your one single most strategy the company is putting in? And if that strategy is clear, and then the human capital has to work with the CIO and the CSO, Chief Information Officer or Chief Data Officer, Chief Strategy Officer, to look at what are the work and task and skill required for the next 2 to 3 years to support this strategy. So that's the conversation that, HCRO needs to have and map out. There you can see that's point 2. And question 3 is understanding the priorities. So my team sometimes struggle with me, right? They go like, so what are you going to prioritize, Cha? And I go like, all of these. And they go like, come on, Cha, that's not possible. So we are a quasi startup where we have to and can be agile, and moving fast in the market is really important. But most big companies that we have 20,000 employees and 30,000 employees, again, we are trying to get an elephant to dance, right? So then yes, we need to prioritize, but we need to think and make sure that the conversation and the strategy in every level, every senior leadership team speaks the same lingo, so that the workforce will start understanding and encourage them to learn how to stay relevant. Okay. And why these factors needs to be really, really important to look at. And we have worked with some big oil and gas companies, and they started this transformation like a year and a half ago, thanks to, and I say it in a very, very cynical way, when the oil price has gone down. And they had to optimize their process, and they need to look at how do they keep the relevant people in the company engaged. And they went through the whole transformation on data literacy. And one of the key things that came out of it, and that shocked me, not only did they save money in a lot of other ways, their employee engagement index went up so high that shows that, you know, people, when you engage them to reskill and upskill, people are not afraid in losing their jobs. People are happy in sharing data. And then you get ideas and collaborativeness together, yeah? So this is how they can. And I'm gonna talk a little bit about, forget about whether it's CADS solution or not, because there's none out there, and we are one of the first to do this. But I'm gonna talk through this, why this is important when you are doing an augmented strategy in a company. While you're planning a whole workforce within the company, that's 54%, you're looking at performance, you're looking at skill gaps, and then you're putting in programs that's self-learning or, you know, instructor-led. That's very important to look at. While you do that, you apparently need to look at what are the, you know, automation that you could do, what are the things that can be done faster and smarter, and then look at how you're going to hire. But if you look on your left-hand side, we have a beehive here called Data-Driven Organization. Now, we work with one of the big banks in ASEAN, and it was very interesting that they have started the whole data literacy journey like a year, 2 years ago. And the first year they spent, you know, X million, and they actually got a return of investment ×3 of that. And this is a big bank, about, you know, 20,000 employees to 40,000 employees. But one of the biggest struggle they had is they couldn't get all the senior leadership, that means N-1, N-2, to speak the same lingo. So everybody went back to, oh, I need to bring my sales number in, I need to look at my branches to make sure they're optimized. And they did not translate the real strategy the company is having, the bank is having, that why, how can everybody start moving in the same flow? And then we have our, so we decided to take our data-driven organization, you know, model, which is patent pending now, into a software to ensure that the CEO can have one visibility where the break is having. And that's why, you know, I talk about our HR tech solution here, but that's just to give you an idea that getting a whole elephant to dance means you need to do certain things parallelly, and you need to sing this together. And that is why this is not a job for a HCRO alone. This has to be strategy from the C-level itself, including the human capital, yeah? So this is an interesting slide that I took from Gartner, that we call it Human Capital Technology Transformation. Now, we work with Gartner very closely, and it's so interesting that, you know, just a month ago, what Gartner told us, how they see the analysts, how they see the market is going. Just last week, when I was talking to the analysts, they told me that it's not relevant anymore. It's like, now we need to get this done. And why I'm showing this slide is, I want companies to start thinking that their workforce need to become an internal marketplace, which means if you start moving your workforce from skill-based, you can call upon people for the right skill to get the right job done. So for instance, if the financial department needs some kind of analytics on forecasting cash or looking at cash burn during this pandemic that's happening, and finance guys usually are not all of them, but, you know, most of them do not like programming, and let alone trying to do analytics in place, could call upon people with that skills within the company to start building a solution ASAP for them now. So the reason for this slide is to give you an idea about what would an internal marketplace would look like. And that's part of the solutions that we look at, that we call it, you know, the product that we have internally that's called TalentSpire Enterprise. And according to Gartner, that was supposed to be a futuristic product. and they thought that it will never take off. Then today they said, oh my God, that is so relevant today that they will need that. So what is this journey would be like, right? What is the first thing that everybody has to do is to understand the current data literacy skills inventory. You need to have a snapshot. It's not like one bank asked me, so I have a bank that goes like, oh, you know, if I open this up, everybody wants to register. Who do I allow? Who do I say no to? And then I have another bank that says, you know, people are so reluctant to turn up for this training because they feel like, you know, they're afraid that, you know, they will lose their jobs, or, you know, they just don't care. They want to just keep doing what they're doing because we're a 60-year-old bank. And that is why it's important as a C-level in a company to understand what is the current data literacy skills. Then you need to take an inventory on that. And then you need to work on formulating a journey. That means you identify the skills. So, you know, because it's programming doesn't mean you need an IT graduate to do that. There's a lot of hidden talents within the company, and people, you know, do not realize that. And I think that's why it's important to do that stock check, that inventory, and then identify the gaps so that you can upskill them. And not everybody needs to become a data scientist. That's just the pinnacle of the whole transformation, right? And it's important to have data storytelling, data literacy, where we say, you know, analytics using Excel. You know, I always say Excel is a powerful tool. Don't undermine the million rows. When people start telling story and making decisions based on data, you will realize that more and more outcome-driven situation, optimized working situation that will happen, yeah? So then, optimize upskilling through applying the skills, right? You need to have strategic initiatives to work on that. And then you know what are the skills that you could immediately, you know, hire, upskill, and start getting the ball rolling, right? And very, very important, whatever you start, you must have a loop to close it back. So you need to have a feedback loop. You need to have an assessment, knowing that people have understood this. So we also realize a lot of people like to use online learning. You know, we have lots of analytics online free versions or certified version that you have. And some of the things that companies struggle now is, how do I know they've gone through this program and they have gained that skill? So that's very important, to have the assessment and having a standard certification within the company, that you know that they are all moving towards the right path, the right career path, the right skill that need and required to do the job, yeah? So when I talk about an internal marketplace, so it's very important to look at capabilities, and this slide just talks about that. How you can do workforce remodeling, more so now, and the new norm. I always talk about this as a new norm. And we are using this in our company of 70 people. You know, we are so small, and this is even more relevant to us. Can you imagine for bigger companies? How you look at performance, how do you look at succession plan? How do you verify, identify skill gaps, and then the whole L&D within the workforce that you have. Then you need to ensure everybody speaks the same lingo, so nobody is left out. You know, have proper learning paths and modules for them, and make sure that's monitoring and certification in place. Now, in a realm that, you know, who do I hire? How do I know they have the right skills? It's very important to make sure that the people you hire, even your marketing guy, even Shafia, who helps build me these slides, learns and needs to learn and understand what is data literacy, how can we use these, how does the, you know, stats make sense to the current people that we are talking to. So every one of them, especially on the new generation that's going to come in, needs to understand what is data, what's analytics, what does data literacy, you know, would mean. So having said that, I think this is going to be my last slide, and I talk about this because all the CFOs in the companies now are looking at cash burn, right? Because businesses are not open, people are working from home, and people who cannot work from home, the job doesn't require that, still are required to do something. But employees have become the biggest cost, and they become the biggest cash burn. And that is why you can already see in the US and in Canada that letting go people is the first choice they do when you're hit by a crisis in any, whatever form, right? In 2008, 2008, 2009, that was the recession. And then before that was the Great Depression. Now they call it the Great Lockdown. And because they become the biggest cause, it is very important strategically companies to use this as a competitive advantage rather than a problem to solve immediately. Because at the end of the day, if you can afford it or you want to put where your money is worth, then think of something how you can come out as a champion and a game changer end of this pandemic, you know, when they get this thing under control. How do you want to come out as? So that becomes a very important game changer and competitive advantage for people. Organizations that understand their people better would outperform those who don't. And this is proven. This is not something like out from a book, right? This is stats that clearly shows companies that survived the 2008, 2009 recession was people who put an effort in this point. And they hire better and they have more engaged workforce. And this also means having, we call it IT leaders, data literacy leaders who understands the kind of hiring that needs to change in order for you all to become better in the end of, you know, of all these things that's going to make a difference to us now. So with that, thank you. I see a lot of questions down there, but Hasrina, do I take the questions from here?
Hi, great session. I think it was very timely. I think I just want to go to Jana. I think Jana had one question that I think would, I think what most organizations are grappling with, you know, he talks about the technophobia. Okay, how do you get buy-in from someone who's like fearful of technology? I don't think he means stuff like kitchen gadgets, but you know, like, how do I work Excel? How do I work Zoom? How do I work Teams, you know? And how do I do this, right? So I think what Jana talks about is not just training, but how do you change the mindset of people? You know, I think we've had cases where people say, "Hello, I'm too old to learn. Don't teach me all this stuff," right? Yes. So how do we do this? So
I think that's a very, I got so much stories to share with these. Look at us, Shalini, right? I'm an engineer by profession, and I never really bothered to use any of this technology because I go like, oh my God, where do I, you know, I'm not used to and I'm not comfortable. Somebody else will set the Zoom for me. Today, you and I had to practice how to use the Zoom, yeah? So when situation becomes so important and crucial, it's not about encouraging, it's about getting everybody in the same lingo. That's why it's important, because I think people resist when somebody else is not doing, I won't do it. But when you have a system that everybody has to go through this, then it's not about whether I want to do it or not, everybody has to do it. I'll give you a small example. My mom is 68 years old and she has learned to use the YouTube. And her one encouragement was when she visited me in Sweden, she needed to watch the Indian drama. And I did not have Astro in Sweden. So I taught her how to use the YouTube. Now she does recipes out of YouTube. And she is zero, you know, phone or laptop literacy for, you know, 60 odd years. But when the reason becomes important for them to learn, they will learn. And you need to create an environment that it's not an option that I want to do it and I don't want to do it. Like how now we are all in the situation that it's not an option, that everybody has to learn to work remotely and make the best out of it. So I think that's what I would answer it that way.
So you sort of like create a fire burning situation, right? Yeah, and it is. The house is on fire right now. Yeah, I guess so. I don't know, Jana. I think Jana, that I mean, seriously, you know, I mean, even for me, you know, I would think trying to get MRI to move to a digital space is like trying to move a beast, right? And I honestly, I was quite amazed at how fast we managed to do it because again, the house is burning. I think we'll go to this next question from Kumar about the importance of, I think where he comes from is that, you know, especially in insurance, there's so much of data. But we're not leveraging on it. And he talks about that. How do we start mining the right data? How do we capitalize on it?
So it's not an option. We know that, right? So where do we begin? Now, one of the most sorted out talent out there are data engineers, and there's a reason for that, right? That is, how do I first collect or take whatever data I have? Forget about collecting. You already have, especially insurance. You already have this data. Where do I put them? First of all, store them, and then I clean them. and then make sense out of it. And that is not something you can do overnight. It's a strategy that needs to be put in place. Some insurance companies have already started using their data science team or outsourced the project for them to have quick wins. That's one way to do that. But one of the things that I challenge my data scientists, and I hope they're not in this call, maybe they are, that I feel sometimes you don't have to have all the data to start forming a pattern. And my data scientists, my data science team group constantly would want, like, I need to have all the data before we could do anything. I think having all the data makes your decision more accurate, but I think having enough data to form a pattern is something to start off with. So one of the things that I always tell companies to do is do not outsource, meaning do not leave it to a chief data scientist to come up with the insights. The people that's involved, the domain experts, so if you're a chief marketing officer or you're an underwriter, or you're a fraud expert, work with the data science team, do take whatever data you have, form a pattern, and then start building on it. So it cannot be done overnight, but you need to begin somewhere. And it's a true challenge because we also say garbage in, garbage out. Part of that is having AI to start looking at cleaning data quickly and implementing it. Short term, quite expensive. Long term will be quite useful.
Okay. All right. I think we have, this is from Puba. He says it's a sensitive question. Does it lead to job cuts? Does technology lead to job cuts? And, does technology replace all roles, quality and efficiency? Are we paying the price in terms of quality and efficiency? I mean,
I love this question, right? So when steam engine came, right, all the horse carriage people were very upset that they were going to lose their job. When industrialization happened, people were so upset. There was this term that I keep forgetting in Europe, that they went and burned these places that were doing, linen. There's a term for that. Today I cannot remember that. So this is what people were afraid of when technology came with industrialization. And that created more jobs than ever. And we are in the same realm now. The AI is going to create, nobody talks about the 2 million jobs that we cannot fill up today just in ASEAN. Okay? So that is why a job, I'm not denying the fact that there will be an X amount of people that cannot be upskilled or will not be able to move along with the program, and we have to accept that. And that's why there are countries that are experimenting on this minimum, we call it the social security, right? Giving them that they will never be able to pick this up and move on with the rest of it. But the majority of it, AI creates more jobs. AI creates efficiency in work. AI allows us to leave at 4 o'clock so we don't have to be caught in the 8 o'clock, 6 o'clock jam. AI gives us a quality of life that you can spend with your kids and learn on upskilling yourself. And I'm a big advocate of AI.
Okay. Very good. Okay, we have a question here from Nicholas, who says, I think I saw, Nicholas picked up lawyer. I saw accountants and auditors. How are you going to get rid of accountants and auditors? I mean, seriously, I can't imagine us checking ourselves. I don't know. I mean, regulatorily, that's a different thing. I'm not sure. But okay, Nicholas talks about how to say that lawyers it's going to be a redundant role and replaced by automation.
So if you talk about doctors, lawyers, if you're studying in university, and one of the biggest things you have to do is memorizing and understanding what are the cases and who did that, right? And it makes you a great lawyer, a great doctor, because you have amazing memory and understanding who has won case based on what is the legislation in a country. But can you imagine if a machine takes over? And it can process like all this information in your library of, legal library, and can give you an accurate decision on how to argue your case. This is what people talk about, robo judges. And I joke that with my lawyer friends that, can you imagine a judge without emotion and just makes decision based on data? That will make lawyers irrelevant. And that's the point that people are trying to make. I doubt, I think the way lawyers work will change. And I used to say this in the past, that teachers will lose job and doctors will lose job. I used to say that, and now I've changed my mantra and I say, teachers who don't work with technology will lose their job. Doctors who don't work with technology will lose their job. I think that would be the same with the lawyers.
Okay, all right. I mean, that makes sense. I mean, I think there are actually, I've heard of these robo lawyers that you can go online, you put your problem. I think they even give you a template if you need a letter of demand or whatever, you know, and there's help there for you to use. But I think that human judgment is where you would need to come in, but it makes us a lot more efficient. I think that's, yeah. All right. Okay. Next question we have from Isma. It's companies who have so far successfully upskilled, automated, or reduced your workforce. You know, do you have any examples, or is there companies that you often use as an example of, you know, a use case or a successful model?
Okay. We have. I don't know whether I'm allowed to say names.
Okay,
but
never mind. Maybe industry. Okay, maybe industry.
Oil and gas.
Okay.
So I'll tell you that there's a global services company in Malaysia that was in the verge of closing down.
Okay.
Because they had 8 other GBSs in the world, and they've decided that, you know, Malaysia could be one that they could let go. And what I love about this story, and we have a case on them, but the case talks about employee retention and engagement. But what ultimately I loved is the MD was a Malaysian, and in Malaysia, closing down means Malaysians will be out of a job. So he spoke with me, and the approach he took with the global players, the global mother company was, we would like to make our center in Malaysia as a center of excellence for analytics. And from when he took over, the company had 3,000 people. By the time he took over, he had 1,008. And within 2 years now, he is at 2,500 people. And their headquarters of analytics from Switzerland has moved part of the team to Malaysia to start doing it. So this is how relevant it is that, you know, if you change a traditional business, and we're talking about people from procurement, we're talking about people from HR, we're talking about people from legal doing analytics and becoming a center of excellence for this. So I think that's one great case study that we've done. Another one was the banking. This is 20 to 40,000 employees, and they had difficulties getting this elephant to dance, but they made sure from C-level, from the board right up to the teller, have understood the language of what we call it data literacy to start. So they spent about 30 million the first year, and the ROI they got was 100 million by the time they finished this.
Okay.
So this is one of the best investment they've.
So I think this is where you talked about leveraging on existing employees and on the domain expertise, right? I think we had this conversation before this about, it's not about hiring the new data scientists, but how do you give these people who have that domain expertise to learn the data analytics and data science. Okay, all right, okay, very good. Okay, so that's done. What is the best way for prioritization metrics for human digital transformation? And then I think it's probably related to the next one. Which would you invest in first? Human capital or technology? Where would you spend your remitted dollars?
So very, very simple. Where do you start is your people, human. The reason being is even when you want to buy technology, how do you even write up an RFI, an RFQ? How do you know what kind of technology that you need within your company? So we have seen companies who have asked us to come in to sit down with them to understand who, 4 years ago, there's this telco that bought a solution that became IBM's global customer, that they bought end to end, the whole IBM solution. And today, the conversation we have is we bought a white elephant, but we don't have the talent to put the data in and make sense of it. So 3-4 years ago, everybody was rushing in to become the data company, Hadoop, and I can afford this, only to realize that whether the equipment they bought was what they needed, can do what they want, and could they have invested little by little while they understood where the company was going. So unless you invest on your human capital, you won't be able to do that smart decision on the kind of technology that you need.
Okay.
And you're not going to get it perfect, right? And it's okay to fail. That's the other thing that people need to understand.
Yeah. I think, failure is not like a sin, right? I think you have to, you fail, you try something new, you fail, you try again, you adapt, you try again, right? I think that's a new way of working. I think that takes some adjusting for leaders as well, because I think in the old way of working, it's like if you fail, then you're going to pay for it, but then people don't experiment. So how do you move forward? How do you adapt? Yeah. Okay. We'll move to the next question. I think it's already 3 o'clock, but I think we'll just go up a little bit just to try and see if we can answer as many as possible. I think, shifted to cognitive skills, to social skills as collaboration becomes a competitive. We can only expect these trends to strengthen. What is your opinion on how the shift on where people are putting more sort of like emphasis on cognitive skills to social skills? So it's moving, right, to social skills and collaboration. So what is your opinion on this trend?
I think that's a very important question. Let's take, we are a tech company. We are a tech company. We have 20 data scientists, and we always talked about being agile and always skill-based and output-driven. Having said that, we ourselves struggle to get that to work until we decided to change the way we hire people and give importance to culture fit. So skills you can learn. If you don't have the mindset to take and run and do with what the company needs, then all of this you're trying to put in place will not work. Like our first question, right? How do I ask someone to, if someone is resisting, how do I get them on board? No, when the whole world is moving towards a certain thing, if you're not on board, you will fall off. And I think that's why it's important to set that, skills is one thing. You can be the smartest, and we say that in the company, nobody wants to work with a brilliant jerk, right? So I think it's important that skill is one thing, but having the culture, understanding what the company needs, and to be able to work remotely to produce results takes a certain kind of, strengths that, it doesn't come with just cognitive skills, yeah?
This is the age of collaboration. I think that's one thing that's key. You don't have to be an expert in everything. You don't have to do everything, but it's about bringing together those pieces to make something bigger and better. Yes. I think that's what's really cool. I think this question on how do you bring C-suites on board? I think you talked about this. I mean, this is another elephant to dance, I think. I mean, I'm a C-suite, but okay, I'm dancing badly, but still trying to dance, yeah.
I mean, you're going to hate me with this. I was in a conference for internal auditors, and one of the head auditors came up to me and asked, so how I do this? And I go like, if you are in the point now that you have to convince your C-levels to do this, I think you should change jobs.
Oh my God, yes, I'm going to hate you for saying this.
So, I mean, I always say that, if it's not a strategy in the place where your C-level is not seeing it, then you're running out of luck running the company. Okay. It is so important. Levels like should be a convert and asking, where do I begin?
Okay.
And 5 years ago, I can say, okay, we need to do awareness, blah, blah, blah. But now so many companies are so far ahead in being convinced, but struggling to understand where do I begin. So I'm so sorry. I hope you know this.
I agree. I agree. Okay. Okay. This is specific. Is for insurance agents, marketing executives. How do they keep up? I think what skills do they, really that will make a difference today? Okay. I mean, they have the domain expertise. What should they be doing to amplify that?
So I'm not marketing my product, but I'm going to talk about it in a way that this is where we have realized over the years that we were only churning out data scientists. And we realized that that's going to be like, if you're looking at 220,000 people of data scientists, there's 200,000 people who need to talk the talk of data literacy. And that's what she's asking. It's very important you understand how to tell story with data. So anything on data visualization using a PowerPoint, your Excel, or if you can do programming, your Python, Tableau, which is a bit higher on the scale, you can start with that. Data storytelling, data visualization, big data 101. You need to understand all this lingo that we're using, Hadoop, crowdsourcing, platform-based, what all this means. If you're not from the, our world, we call it science stream and art stream, that's no more that point. You need to get on that. And there's a lot of free courses on that. There are a lot of people, you need to have a path that will do that. And if you go to our website, you just check out all the skills that we talk as enterprise data professional. And this would be a basic. We teach that in university. We sit in the board of we work with all the other agency that looks at employee, graduate employability. And this is what we think the basics: visualization, data storytelling, analytics using Excel is so important.
Okay. I think I'm doing your BDA 101 right now. Okay, it'll take a little bit of, yeah, it's good. But it's just that I'm going to have to read and reread, so yeah, but that's what it is. Okay, next question. The second last question. Tech experts are ringing alarm bells. Okay, the cyber criminals. Okay, you have one side, the good side, then you've got these guys who are leveraging for not good, for nefarious reasons. So what's your view on this?
I think it's true, it's serious, but it's the same like anything else, right? When we had the first time we had the internet, right? We still have the dark web that's happening. And I don't think you can eliminate it, but I think it's important that, as we start a journey with any new technology, you will have to work on it as we go. But some of it, you don't have to, like, people talk about AI and AI being misused in war, like having a drone to go and kill people. All that we can already predict, and we can start stopping them now. But cyber threat and cyber security it is an issue. There's not enough companies that are doing in this part of the world, more so in the US and Europe, I think. And I think we can, like, take for example Zoom, right? A lot of government agencies didn't want to use Zoom, and that was just also the knowledge of it. Zoom on people downloading the wrong Zoom softwares, because there's people who are malicious enough to tell there's Zoom meeting and there's nothing to do with the Zoom that we're using. And then they become a subject to, cyber security. So I think also learning and understanding this and not just following the trend is another thing. Self-educate yourself that what are the things that's safe, and it's not going to be 100% proof that we're going to win in this, but we can eliminate.
Okay. I think we've got two questions that came in through the chat, but I'll finish this last one here on the Q&A. What can Malaysian insurers do to make a difference in the Malaysian life insurance industry? I think we have, Encik Anwar, I think we have another session on this, right, Sharala? I think it's at the last session of the 5-part series where we talk about it with examples, but but maybe you want to just quickly say something about it?
I personally would suggest a lot that I buy a lot of insurance for the company and for us. And I came back from abroad and I realized it was so difficult to get a personalized insurance. And banks are doing this over and over again, that, even the housing loans has to be personalized. And I think you can do so much more if you prioritize customer experience. When you say customer experience, that means you know exactly what your client needs and what they need, and you need to give a quick solution. And I think that's where all insurance needs to move towards too.
Okay, I think we have two questions on the chat. I think this one is about how I want to know more about, understand how data science can help me as a sales and digital marketer in our company. So yeah.
Perfect. I mean, of all people, you would be the one that once you have mastered this, you will want from all the companies who want that, because now you can't have face-to-face meetings.
That's true.
And Netflix and Amazon has become one of the highest valued company in the last few weeks. The reason behind is, how do you target your consumers? How do you know what your consumer wants in real life? Immediately suggesting that if I bought a boots today, then I potentially will need a socks that will go with the boots. And this is what digital marketing and sales is all about. Doing the strategic sales has become very important, knowing your customer, profiling, whether it's a young kid or it's just gone to university or you're empty nest, we talk about it. How do you target your clients separately? It's all driven by data and analytics. And you are the right candidate for that, more so than anybody.
Okay, all right. I think there's one, I think Jasdeep, I don't know whether it's a question or it's a statement, but digital transformation must be part of your strategic level planning to get the buy-in from all employees. Your views, yeah.
Yes, thank you for...
Yeah. So I think that's where, I think Azhar says, I think when we talked about the cyber crimes and all the cyber security issues that we're having, he says, don't blame the technology. It's the people who con and people who use technology for bad things.
Yes. So we have to be like, this is what they teach in schools for kids. How do you verify fake news?
Okay.
My mom believes everything she reads, so now I have to tell her. Now I have to teach her how to verify fake news. So this is where the self-education becomes really important. Don't be so gullible for everything that we hear.
Okay, all right, very good. I think that was a fantastic session, Shah. Anything that you want to wrap up, or you have last closing statement, some final words of wisdom, anything?
I think a big kudos to you guys, to you, Shalini, and to the insurance world, because I think you guys are one of the few that, like the financials, right? You got the most data that anybody else has. You don't have to beg, borrow, steal. You have your own data. But you guys have been so difficult in moving, I call it a lard culture. And you can kill me after this. I don't got other people.
I'm going to get slaughtered, Shah. I'm going to get slaughtered now.
Fantastic. This is fantastic. People are asking and seeing the need for it. And that's what excites me. And for that, I thank all of you and all that participants who got on board for this, because wanting to make the change, it makes the difference.
Right.
So,
okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much to our participants who are here today, and thank you again to Shah and the CADS team for making this possible. Again, I think we have 4 more in the CADS series, and we have, I think, 17 more in the MII webinar series. So the 4 is in there. So again, we would love to hear from you as to what you thought about this session. And, if you think there are other topics that we should cover, or maybe you want to just hear Shah talking about something specific, I don't know, just let us know. So the link is on the chat right now for your feedback, and, come on. And I think we have a session, I think it's on Wednesday. Hasri, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not sure. Is it Wednesday? I think, wait, let's see. Yeah, I think yes. I think we have a session. Yes. So yes, thank you so much. We have one session coming up on insights. We're working with this market research company on insights, how consumer behavior is changing with COVID-19. I think, Shah, I think you would know, a lot has changed, and that's why even we were looking at, okay, how do we target customers? What are people looking at? What do people want? So we're working with this company called Kanta Research, and they are going to share. We have a special session specifically for insurance industry, how consumer behavior is changing, and how do we prepare ourselves for that. So thank you again, everybody. See you at the next session, and thank you again, Shah. Thank you, CADS. Bye. See you.
Thank you so much. Cheers.
Bye.